Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Sister Pods. On tonight, we're going to be doing our health spotlight and we're going to be talking about endometriosis. And you may be asking yourself, what is endometriosis? Endometriosis is when the endometrium, which is in the uterus, the lining of the uterus, is found outside. So that could be the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, pelvic floor. Sometimes it's found the bladder, urinary tract, the ribs, your chest, the diaphragm, your brain, your eyes. It has been recorded in numerous locations. Now, some doctors don't really talk about that. They just talk about it being located outside of the uterus. But cases in the UK and Kenya have reported that endometriosis has been found in the brain, in the eye, in the diaphragm, in various locations of the body. So basically, it is a chronic inflammatory reaction. It's a chronic illness, and it causes pain um, during, before, during, and after the menstrual cycle. So, like, really, what symptoms? What are the symptoms? So if there's heavy bleeding, okay? So if you have heavy bleeding during your cycle, fatigue, chronic pain, those are just a few of the symptoms that affect people. Now, keep in mind that symptoms vary from woman to woman. Now, endometriosis affects 1 out of 10 women. That's 10%. That's 190 women worldwide affected with this. Now, some symptoms are very loud and others are really quiet. And it's so important for us to go to our OBGYNs annually and to be very clear and specific about our symptoms. Now, over here at Sister to Sister Pods, we believe in the Holy Spirit. So when your body is confusing you with the symptoms that you're experiencing, we believe in conviction of the Holy Spirit can indicate and say, hey, something might be off there. So my biggest thing is sisters and brothers who have sisters. Brother, if you have a fiance, a wife, maybe you're a young brother, your mother could be going through this. If you notice that the woman in your life or the women in your life are using over-the-counter medications excessively during their menstrual cycle, that's an indicator. Why are you using so many pills during your cycle? If you're using, like, I don't know, you're pushing the limits for Excedrin, for Tylenol, for Midol, that is cause of concern for you to really go and see your PCP. If you don't have a gynecologist, go to your PCP and ask them to refer you. PCP is for a primary care physician. Ask them to refer you to a really good gynecologist. And the most important thing with a good gyno is for her or him to listen well and for them to be willing to fight for you. Now, you might be asking yourself, how is endometriosis discovered? Like, how do you actually know you have it? If you're like thinking that you might, or you think that somebody that you know might be affected by this. Right now, the easiest way is a laparoscopy, and that is a surgical procedure. It's quote unquote non-invasive. It's not long. Well, you're going to be knocked out, so it doesn't matter to you, right? But research is showing that they're thinking that you might be able to take a blood test, which would help I guess, indicate if you have endometriosis or not. But the clearest way is going to be the laparoscopy because they're going to go in there with a camera and they're going to see what's actually going on. Um, so let's go over the symptoms again. Pain before, during, and after your period. You're feeling tired. Fatigue, chronic pain, like all of a sudden you just feel like you've been hit by a truck and nothing's the matter. That's an indicator. Oftentimes, endometriosis gets confused with bowel conditions or even urinary tract conditions. So it's really important for you to be clear when you're going to see your gyno, and sometimes take your sister with you. If you're really close with your brother, take him in there with you and have an advocate in the room to be able to speak on your behalf when you kind of go into that patient syndrome and you forget to express everything that you wanted to tell your doc. And then when they leave, you're like, oh my gosh, I know what I wanted to tell them. They're gone. You have to make another appointment or wait a whole nother year. So it's important for you to have a game plan before going in to see your doc to really know what you want to talk about. So, to my sisters out there and to the brothers who know the sisters who might be affected by this, please listen to what your body is telling you. Do not ignore the signs. Do not ignore the signs. And here's the thing, if you feel like you're having a strong reaction to certain foods, that could be an indicator as well. Dairy causes inflammation. So, that is ice cream, cheese, milk. If you're getting a reaction, or let's say that you love cheesecake and every time you eat cheesecake, the next day or maybe minutes after, you just feel like you've been hit, or you might have your body is trying to fight it, so you feel like you have massive allergies, you're always blowing your nose, that's an indicator that your body is fighting something. So again, endometriosis affects 1 out of 10 women. That's 190 women across the world, across the world, in our world, that are affected by this. Unfortunately, right now, there is no cure, but there are ways that you can combat and to reduce the pain. That would be to change your diet to an anti-inflammatory diet. So if you're a meat eater, and you just can't fathom letting go of the beef, the chicken, the pork, the carnitas, the asada, I would just say reduce it and challenge yourself. Go a month with just plant-based items. And when I say plant-based, I'm not talking about vegan, because I'm not talking about anything processed, because that can cause problems as well. I'm talking about things that are grown from the ground. Your kale, your leafy greens, your legumes, your fruits. Let's stick to things that grow from the ground. And hey, if you think about it, the good book, aka the Bible, talks about how Adam and Eve, they had a plant-based diet. So, to all the women out there who are struggling, suffering, and in silence because they just feel awkward to talk about it, you are not alone. And it's really important for us as a community to be that ear and to be that shoulder for the woman who's going through that thing, because it can feel like an isolated event that it's just happening to you. You are not alone. 190 million sisters are going through the same thing. So this is 2024, right? Get online, find your community, and be a beacon of light. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Sometimes it's so taboo for us to talk about the V word. But over here on Sister to Sister Pods, we are health professionals, and we are not afraid to say vagina because it is a body part just like your shoulder. Okay? So, again, this is Endometriosis Awareness Month, and we're talking about endometriosis on tonight. Please, please, please go and visit your gynecologist. Get yourself checked out. Make it a regular thing to listen to your body and ask yourself, how did I feel after eating that meal? How do I feel on my period? Pay attention right before your period kicks in, pay attention. During, pay attention. Write it down. And after, pay attention. It's so key because endometriosis has affected some women with infertility issues. So the sooner that you know, you'll be able to combat it, and knowledge is power. You'll be able to address it. Okay? Again, you are not alone. There's a lot of communities out there. Okay, thank you so much for joining us here on the Sister to Sister Pods. We will see you next month with another health focus.